Hi everyone, my name is Ben Wright, Human Cartoonist Extraordinaire, and welcome to the CosPain Kickstarter launch party. I am so excited to be here. I should probably say this is the first recording Tuesday, May 26th, 2026. We are getting ready to start a Kickstarter for something that I've wanted to do for a very, very long time. For those of you who are new to my work, I will tell you, CosPain has been a passion project of mine for almost 9 years. It is a webcomic I've been doing about cosplay convention craziness. Just post weekly to my Patreon and to the internet at large. And it's been a project that I've really wanted to get properly into print. I will say I have sort of it's not full-size books, but a long time ago, at the recommendation of a friend, because my comic's primarily about cosplay and cosplayers don't have pockets, I did create these tiny little collections. So a version of this has been in print. I want a full-sized version, and I've been trying to make it happen. Various things have gotten in the way, but we are finally doing it. And this is going to be basically the first 150 strips of my comic collected into a proper book form. This version that it was always meant to be. I can actually demo because I was doing size comparison stuff. I got too much stuff. Hold on. I thought I had one handy. But it is going to be what is considered the standard trade size. Oh, here it is. Basically a book about this size. I had it upside down. Hello, Walking Dead. It is going to have 2 strips per page. It is going to be beautiful. Very excited to have this happen. And in addition, if we're able to hit our stretch goals, I'm only asking for 1,500, which is low for a lot of the Kickstarters I've done before. But if we're able to hit the stretch goals, which are going to be at 2,500 and 3,500, I have enough strips. I'm going to make multiple books. So this is a project we are very, very excited for, and I cannot wait to share it with you. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? This actually is something that just realized I should have had set up. I've had to rush all day because things have been nuts. I am going to show you guys the actual... let me go ahead and bring this up. I'm going to show you the launch trailer, and then live on stream, we are going to launch the campaign. So very exciting, very cool stuff. And make it big. Infinite lines, overstuffed hotel rooms, costumes that defy the laws of physics. These are just some of the struggles that cosplayers face at every convention. This narrator Cosplayers come in all shapes and sizes, from all walks of life. From the lawyer who hides the fact that she attends cons half naked, to the structural engineer who puts everything they have into perfecting the tiny details, to the mysterious full-body cosplayer whose face has never been revealed. Con life isn't all about the cosplayers, though. The tablers at the artist alley seek profits and validation, while the staffers run around trying to organize chaos. Freelance photographers hustle from one shoot to the next, trying to make enough money to move out of their parents' house. And every once in a while, someone shows up to tell everyone that their fun is wrong. This is the world of CosPain. Also boob jokes. The most important thing. Hi everyone, my name is Ben Wright, Human Cartoonist Extraordinaire, and I am the creator of CosPain. In 2017, I launched my weekly weeb comic, and it has delighted readers from all corners of the nerdy world. I've always planned to make paperback collections, and the time is finally right to collect these strips and enter them into the world of print media. For the first time, you'll be able to read these comics the way they were really meant to be read. We will also be updating some of the formatting, including introducing a new, more legible font, and adjusting a little bit of the language to fit the comic's eventual 13+ rating. Because let's face it, f***s are funnier. But that's not all. What's better than a CosPain collection? How about 3? That's right, I have a lot of strips at this point, so if we're able to hit our stretch goals, I will be printing a second, and maybe even a third, book. In addition to strips, these later books would also include long-form stories that have never been released in print before. CosPain has been a labor of love for over 9 years now, and I'm so excited to finally see it make it to print. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you'll support indie creators and get you some comics. Rock on, guys, and never stop drawing. That narrator really needed to shave. All right. Enough wasting time. It is now 7:01, so we are technically late. It's time. Let me share the correct tab. Also, someone in chat said this is competition to Marvel. Thank you. I love. Excellent. Let's do it. Yes! The project is live! All right. Moment of truth. Let me click one thing, and then we will be getting into the actual art part of this stream. Where is it? Did I close it? Ah, that was dumb. I had the social media post all set up, and I think I accidentally closed the window because I got a little overexcited. I had to do so much rushing today. Unfortunately, I've been having weird tech problems the last couple of weeks, and I actually had one right before the stream. My keyboard decided it no longer wants to work, so I'm using the keyboard built into my laptop. And it chose not to save my thing. Fantastic! More tech problems. All right, I will quickly redo this post and let everybody know that the Kickstarter is officially live. It's thinking about it. All right, while it's doing that, I will go ahead. Yes, posts have gone up. Now I can bring up the actual art stuff because you guys don't just want to see my ugly face. Behave. There we go. This is what you all wanted to see. So what I wanted to work on, because I don't actually have I don't have this. I haven't done this yet. I haven't had a chance to put this together. I'm making the cover. So what I'm thinking for the cover, these are just the rough pencils, figuring out the layout. I'd kind of like to do basically a group selfie that's going badly. I think that's the best way to get this kind of thing out there. So let's get these all as rough pencils. And see what we can make. By the way, I am keeping an eye on the chat, so if you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, I'm just going to doodle and periodically duck in and see what's happening with the Kickstarter. I've actually gotten a notification already that we've got some traction, so that is pretty exciting. And I'm just finding out that the link that I have scrolling across the bottom for some reason is not working. Well, that's a problem. If it rains, it pours, right? Let me bring this up. Okay. I'm about to drop an alternate link in the chat. If you guys need it, that works. All right. And we are already 2 backers in and $52 towards our $1,500 goal. Not bad for being launched for a couple of minutes. So this campaign is going to run for 31 days. I know normally they say keep it under 30, but I wanted it to end on a Friday, so it'll be a little easier to do final stream, and I figured this was close enough. All right, let's get to the actual drawing stuff. All right. I'm going to start with MP's pencils. MP is known affectionately as the sexy cosplayer of the group, who I, of course, have front and center because I know it sells books. Going to figure out a costume for her on the fly. All costumes in CosPain, they're often inspired by stuff, but they are technically original designs. I always switch them up to make sure that I won't get sued. You can get away with a lot under fair use, but you got to be careful anyway. Would suck to put a lot of work into something and then not be able to make money off of it at all. So part of what makes this tricky is there's a weird angle here. In fact, I'm going to give her a little sleeve here so there's an obvious glove to help with that. Yeah, I was very much on the fence on whether I was going to be able to launch this Kickstarter. Stuff's been weird in just everywhere right now. And I know a lot of people are keeping money tight. So I was a little worried that we wouldn't be able to fund something like this, that people are just going to be a little too tight with their money. And the main thing that changed my mind was I started looking at Kickstarters that were currently running, and they were actually doing pretty well. There was a very high percentage of comic Kickstarters that were successfully getting funded. So I decided, all right, I guess the market's okay with that, and people are still looking for stuff to entertain themselves. So I suppose it's safe to go ahead and try to do the same thing. I'm also hedging my bets a little bit, keeping the total small, but that's what stretch goals are for. Hopefully we can get significantly higher. The ultimate goal eventually would be to get other publishers to help cover this project and do additional print runs in the future. So part of this hopefully is to be able to get better attention on the project going forward. But as it is, I've been waiting so long to get this into print. It was time. Like, next year is going to be the 10-year anniversary of making this comic. And it drove me crazy that I haven't had a proper full book. So we're finally getting to fix that. All right, what else should I slip into this costume design? Do shoulder pads. I like having shoulder pads randomly. No cape because I don't want to block the people behind. I think that will work. All right. Let's go reverse order of where people are in the foreshortening. So let's go next to Scotty, the casual cosplayer. The first thing he ever said in one of my comics was, I got this cape from Walmart, which is also one of the only brands that actually gets referenced ever Like one of the only moments a real brand gets mentioned. I'm usually pretty good at keeping that stuff vague. So I originally came up with CosPain in 2017 at Super Magfest. I actually ended up making a comic specifically about what happened, but there was a photo shoot I was part of. It was for Zero Time Dilemma, actually. I was cosplaying Zero, who's basically a full Plague Doctor outfit, if you're not familiar with it. So I had a homemade Plague Doctor mask. And it was a very cool outfit, but there was one part where there was a part of the photo shoot that I was not going to be a part of, and so they left me to guard the bags. And I remember standing there, and I had a realization that they'd left the guy who was in a mask and could not see anything to guard the bags for everybody. And I just realized, well, there's a problem here because I can't actually see them. This is a very funny concept. And I was like, that should be a comic. I was already getting started as a cartoonist at that point. And I don't know, it just kind of came naturally. All right. So here's an interesting question. I change up. So Scotty usually cosplays as superheroes, very cheap, very simple cosplays. And one of the things I do to switch stuff up is I often change the logo. And I've started basing it on the name of the book. So I don't actually know what it's going to be. You know what? I'm just going to do it. For CosPain, CP. All right. And I love that MP's elbow is half blocking him. All right. Next in the foreshortening is going to be Yoru, the serious cosplayer. This is going to be the only other outfit that's going to take a bit of work. Have her be angry at Pincushion, her little assistant. All right. Going to give a little bit of shoulder pad. Yoru tends to cosplay male characters more often than anything else. Yoru themselves uses she, they pronouns. And Pincushion, fun fact, is actually the very first character I came up with and actually predates the concept of CosPain by just a little bit. I had another idea that was going to be a superhero setting. And who knows, that some version of that might happen again someday. But the big thing was I had a character, and the idea was they were a cosplayer who was so authentic that they would actually give themselves the powers of any characters that they dressed up as. And that person had a little assistant named Pincushion who never talked, put up with all their crap, and just worked on cosplay for them. Little epaulets. Haven't done epaulets for these outfits in a while. Ah, nose is too big. All right. But yeah, that idea, I'm trying to remember when I came up with that. It might have actually been at the same con that eventually led to me coming up with CosPain. but it was right around the same time. And I remember making the decision that no matter what, Pincushion was going to be a part of CosPain once I came up with that. And I decided even if people hate this character, he's going to be in strips because I love him. And thankfully, that didn't end up being a problem because everybody loves Pincushion. His little tiny little cosplay butler. One of the other things that will come up if we end up hitting the stretch goals is in book 2, we're actually going to start covering some long form stories that I've done. And one of them specifically follows Pincushion and, like him, is completely silent. I'm going to actually shrink both of them a tiny bit. Let's go that way. I've got plenty of bleed space, but I want to just make sure that we're good. I'm going to give, I think, full pompadour style wig. Get a little bit Iori Agami from King of Fighters here. All right. Turn off roughs for a second. Make sure I got everything good. I don't think I need to flesh out the hair. Well, with the roughs, it's going to be tough because, yeah. What I'm going to do is move you this way slightly. Move that in. This is distorting them a little bit, but I'll be able to fix it in the inking stage. The big thing is I need Ray, who's right in the back here, to be visible. All right. Let's move on to Ray. Ray, I originally conceived as the main character of the series. He was, and part of that was that he's an outsider. He's not actually a cosplayer. He does cosplay photography. And so I thought that would mean he'd have an outsider's perspective when it came to all of the crazy stuff that was happening. Actually, if I angle this right, I don't have to draw his shirt, which might be good because one of the inside gags is that his shirt color always changes. Or changes annually, and that would allow a little bit there. All right. And finally, we have Chris. But yeah, it didn't end up doing Ray as the main character because, to be honest, the other characters ended up being more interesting. I'm going to move. Actually, you know what? That's better. Get rid of that ear. I'm going to angle him a little bit more like this. Chris came about around, I believe it was strip number 51. And Chris was an interesting addition. I can't say that he was... I feel like I didn't quite handle him as well as I could have. The original concept is I wanted to have a male cosplayer who liked to cosplay as women, which is a big part of the cosplay scene. What was tricky is I originally envisioned him using a term that I then found out is no longer considered particularly acceptable. The term is crossplayer. I also chose not to make him trans, which a few people uh, took issue with, and I understand why. There is actually a trans character in the comic, uh, but it was one of those things that when I first came up with him, I'm like, this is how I'm creating him, and we'll see what happens from there. And I think in the long run, it worked out. I get why some people were not happy that I'd done it that way, but I think in the long run, it does. He did end up representing demographic within the cosplay community that does exist and is important to acknowledge. And considering we had another character who uh, uses she they pronouns and primarily cosplays as he him characters, it felt like it was good to have both sides of that visible. Plus, he's swole as hell, which I thought was a good thing to have represented the uh, jock nerd who is into all this kind of stuff. So I think that worked out pretty well. All right. I think let's turn off the rough pencils. Oh, I just spotted one little thing I ought to add. Eyebrows. Yeah, I think this is going to be the cover of the first book. That's pretty exciting. Before we move on, I want to take a quick look at the page, see what we're currently sitting at. We are currently at $160 raised with 4 backers. Thank you guys so much. We are about 20 minutes into it, and we've already hit, looks like just a little over 10% of our goal. So great start. I'm very excited to see where we go from there. All right. Time to get to inking. You know what? I am going to create a folder for each character. Up top is going to be MP. MP's handle is MP Dorimu. That's the full name for it. Almost never comes up. What am I doing? Almost never comes up in the comic. But my original concept was based off the term Manny Pixie Dream Girl, which no longer makes any sense for the character. So kind of funny. I like to think that that was the name she went with, creating an online handle and starting out. And it's one of those things that's kind of embarrassing now, but she's been using it so long. She's like, all right, I'll keep it, I guess. One of the things that ended up happening with MP that I find actually is a lot of fun. She's had several storylines related to the fact that she is a business professional. She is a lawyer, and she's terrified of the people at her law firm. Why can't I get a line here? Of the people at her law firm finding out that she cosplays on the weekends, which is a very real thing. In a lot of industries, people are afraid of having their weekend activities come out and stuff like that. I understand that entirely. I'm not in any way making light of that. But it is a situation that she, in particular, in the comic, has to deal with. In fact, when I started doing longer form stories, most of the comics are just 4-panel strips, Yonkama, if you're familiar with the format. But basically, what you have is a vertically oriented comic strip is the best way I can describe it. But then I decided I wanted to try doing a long form thing with full comic pages. And we did. It was called The Office Party. And it ended up going very well. And it was all about MP realizing that she'd run into the wife of one of the senior partners at a cosplay event. And that person was there and actively shamed her for doing cosplay, but didn't recognize her at the time. So MP spends the entire night freaking out that this person is going to identify her again. It ended up being a big deal, led to a bunch of other interesting storyline stuff happening. And it's one of those things that whenever I get the chance to do those long form stories, I do it. It just the default is having the strips, and that tends to take up the most time and happen the most often. But it's always nice when I get a little space to do a detour and explore people's lives in a more concrete manner. Yeah. Part of the problem is I'm drawing these characters much larger than I normally do because, oh, come on, because this needs to be done for the actual cover. I'm also thinking about making a poster and releasing that as one of the Kickstarter rewards. Oh, I should mention the Kickstarter rewards. In addition to getting a copy of the book, which is the uh, basic thing that we are pushing, you also have the option of getting some new merch that we've never had before. In addition to these mini collections that I showed before, we are going to be making stickers, fridge magnets, and acrylic keychains, all of which I am very excited for. We also have a couple top of the line tier items where you can commission me to draw you uh, as a CosPain character. Nope. Would you smooth these lines? There we go. All right, technology, you're starting to behave just a little bit. You know what? Let's go for a thicker line on that because it's going to be bigger. Come to think of it, I had to do a comic about MP's workout routine because she's always got like ripped abs anytime I draw her stomach. So she's got to like do something. Honestly, I'd probably just make it a boob joke. It's like, do you work out? No, I need core strength to carry these things. And sleeve there, arm. Oh, I think that's it. I'm going to move the text up a tiny bit. It's just a little too close, and I'm worried about tangents. There we go. All right. Next up, Scotty. A lot of times when friends of mine talk about CosPain, Scotty is treated as the character that is closest to me. Not inaccurate. A lot of people look at him as a self insert. I tend to see it as he is one of my self inserts, but there are several characters that conglomerated together make up me. I do tend to be much more lax and carefree when it comes to cosplay. Uh, I tend not to take things too seriously, go into it entirely to have fun and not go too crazy with getting everything exactly right. You know, I should probably talk about my cosplay history, come to think of it. I started cosplaying in 2008, first time I had my real cosplay. Uh, and that was with Godot from Phoenix Wright 3. Anyone's familiar? Uh, Honestly, there's a number of things that ended up influencing with me. Uh, for one, I was most proud of that costume because it had this big old metal visor, really cool looking. Look up an image of Godot from Phoenix Wright. I got to keep working, otherwise I'd do it and put it on the stream. But basically, this guy has a big old metal visor. I built the entire thing out of a drain pipe and a translucent red like file folder that I cut up. Like it was very DIY, and I absolutely loved it. I still have that somewhere. And that was my first time breaking into the cosplay world. First con was Otakon 2008. And one of the other big things was uh, I ended up doing a lot of cosplay in that with a friend of mine from college, uh, who many fans of the channel will know as Trixie. And she ended up being my very first cosplay partner. She was cosplaying Mia, and yeah, we ended up doing a lot of work together and became much closer friends. We were more casual friends in college, and then uh, it became a very, very valuable friendship. I ended up officiating her wedding. It was great. And she claims MP, which is fair. MP is partially based on her, definitely. Although I will also admit, and she doesn't like, I don't think she likes when I bring this up, but she's also one of the main inspirations for Yoru back here. And Yoru, mostly because Yoru, a little bit crazy. Love you, Trixie. You're awesome. All right. Let's see. I think we're going to get this inked before the end of the stream. That's my goal. Yoru was originally going to be a lot meaner than they ended up. They take things very seriously when it comes to cosplay, and it's one of the more endearing aspects in a lot of ways. People tend to mess with them a little bit because they take everything so seriously. See, now I can make lines clean. Originally, the comic was going to have Yoru be, in particular, a lot more abusive to Pincushion, like really disrespectful. And I'm glad that we moved away from that. I like to think this comic grew up a lot as I was working on it. I think part of it is, I started it in 2017, and the world's gone through some interesting stuff in the 9 years since everything began. And I think part of what ended up happening as a result is I ended up kind of softening a lot of the comic. I'm going to make the arm a little bit longer because even with foreshortening, it looked a little weird. Also need to make. I've had people confused because they thought Yoru was AMAB. And I always felt a little weird about that because I'm like, well, I they are admittedly on the non-binary spectrum, but I mean, I give like a little bit of boob. It's not like they're flat. So it felt more like a commentary on my art than anything else. A little bit of fabric. All right. Get that on there. think I'll do a lot of that in the shading. All right. How many more of these folders did I make? I was pretty close. I'm going to give Pincushion his own folder. Yeah, Pincushion ended up becoming one of my favorite characters as I worked on this more. In fact, when I was coming up with the sticker and keychain designs, it's funny that it's like, oh, I've got all these characters. Some of them are more popular than others, things like that. Who gets one? Because I'm only making a few of these to start with. And I ended up deciding, well, I'm giving one to Pincushion because I think mostly I just wanted a Pincushion keychain. I will say this piece of advice for anyone looking to get into comics and do all this stuff. You're going to be a lot happier if you focus as much as you can on what you want to make as opposed to what you think will sell well. I actually lucked out with CosPain because when I originally conceived of it, I mostly thought of it as like, oh, this is a side project I'll do while I'm working on all the stuff that really matters to me. And this has ended up being the thing that people love the most. And that has worked well for me. I'm happy with that. But I wouldn't have expected that when I first started. I'm grateful for it now. But I would definitely say you're setting yourself up for failure if you do something you can't stand. And a lot of people will be like, well, this is what's popular now. This is what I'm going to do. And I do not recommend taking that philosophy. Mostly, I might give you short-term success, but you might also get stuck doing something you hate. And that is the worst. At the end of the day, this needs to be what you want to do. And hopefully I get to keep doing this for a long, long time to come. So to help me with that, back to Kickstarter. All right, what else we got? Pincushion's done. Let's do Chris next. Oh, make that a little bit bigger. 17. One of the things that's made me happiest with making CosPain is how many people who are not in the nerd community who enjoy it. People within the nerd community also like it, but my parents think CosPain is hilarious, which is saying something. They tolerate most of my work. But yeah, previously I'd done Kickstarters for mystery graphic novels, which hopefully book 3 will come out before too long. Still getting the writing done and honestly focusing more on CosPain than on that. But still in the plans to make more books in that series. And after lockdown, I started working with my buddy Rainer Cannonstein, and we created a publishing imprint called Cannon Wright Productions that makes comics anthologies, and we've kickstarted several very successful ones. We started with Less Than Secret, which was all about cryptids. Then we had What the Gnomes Know about gnomes, and our most recent one was Universal Flaws of Robotics, which was by far the biggest project, which actually just won the Space Prize, Best Graphic Novel of 2026. So we're very proud of that. And all those got funded thanks to people like you on Kickstarter. So I'm very happy to have gotten to work on those. I mentioned before that things have been a little strange in the economy lately, which is, I'll admit, why I'm doing this through my own Kickstarter account as opposed to through CanonWrite, just in case it turns out things are weirder than I thought. But you can consider this a CanonWrite project as well if you are so inclined. All right, we're down to the last one. And one of the things that's weird about Ray, I don't know what it is, he is the hardest character for me to draw consistently. I have no idea why. I have such a hard time. Like, I have to think about it every single time whenever I'm drawing his hair and his face. You'd think I'd be used to it, considering how much I draw everybody in this. No. What's most interesting to me about Ray is he has my anxiety. Like, I've actually done some storylines more recently about Ray getting therapy, and that's based on my own personal journey with therapy. He it shows the struggles he's had with it, getting his anxiety under control, and I really appreciated it. I actually had a few people tell me that my talking about it convinced them to get therapy, and I cannot think of a more incredible thing to be told. I helped somebody help themselves in a very real way, and I don't know. That's special to hear as a creator. All right. Come on. Get your spiky hair correct. Put a little bit of the ear there. All right. I might need to go and touch him up later. It just, one of those things that just doesn't seem to be working in the moment. But let me turn off the pencils. I think this is what the cover's going to look like. That's exciting. I'll need to update some of the art, and once this is fully done, of course, I'll be posting some stuff about it. I'm thinking I might make posters also, because this looks like a good layout for a poster anyway. And plus, I like having posters. You can actually, hold on, let me go full screen. You can actually see the posters for the comics anthologies I mentioned before in the background. So there's something I like to make, and I know how to make, and I think this would work pretty well for it. Wouldn't be a bad memento for all of this. So what I'm going to go ahead and do then is I'm going to switch over to the audio, or to this page. Let's give it a refresh, see if we've had any change. Ooh, we're at 260. Not bad for about 40 minutes of being launched. I am, oh man, we're almost at the 20% mark. That is a great start for this particular project. Man, if we could hit, honestly, if we could pass 20% in the first hour, that would be just amazing. All right. But we are going to go ahead and call that here. I'm actually doing 2 streams tonight, so we're going to be starting another one in about 15 minutes. If you are interested in that, I will be joined by Kelsey D Comics and Kokomomo Art, and we are going to be playing through MonsterCon. We've been playing through these games on this channel before, and I just had kind of put this particular one off because I was really hoping we'd be able to do this Kickstarter, and it's like, okay, I need to do one. I need to save the game about going to a monster convention for when I'm actually running the cosplay Kickstarter. But anyway, that's going to wrap things up for this particular stream. Thank you very much for joining, and thank you everyone who has already backed the Kickstarter. It is going to run until, I believe the date is June 26th. And let's see how big we can make this. And again, The base goal is 1,500. If we can hit 2,500, I will print a second book. And if we can get to 3,500, I will print a third book. So it's going to be really awesome if we can get all the way there. And I'd really love to see that happen. You can check out more of my work at bwhcomics.com. I'm also at BWH Comics on Patreon, Instagram, Twitch, YouTube, and Blue Sky. And of course, you can find my weeb comic CosPain at CosPainComic.com. So that's going to wrap things up for tonight. Thank you very much for joining. And until next time, rock on, guys, and never stop drawing.